In total, I worked for FedEx Ground for like 3-4 months. I can't remember, somewhere around there. And anybody who's worked a job in like the service industry, you know that the best part of that shit is the people who you work with, not the job. The job sucks, but it's the people who you meet and who you work with while doing that job that make it kind of like bearable, I guess. Jobs like that you're really only able to do and stay doing because the people who work those jobs look out for each other. I worked with a dude named Miz, who one of the most like talented, fucking supportive, great, like just human being type person that I've like met to date. Literally taught me like so much of what to do with that job to just make my life easier, like help me with some of my jobs, because we worked primarily in like the mall on 34th Street, the Hudson Yards Mall, together, delivering packages. And he literally taught me so much about like what to do in the mall that would just make life way easier. And I guess like I haven't really talked about some of the context surrounding when I was working at FedEx, but right when I started working at FedEx, I had just gotten out of like a year or two long depression that just kept me from doing like anything that I wanted to do, anything creative, any sort of like thing like that. I could barely get out of bed. I wasn't eating. I was like 150 pounds, like super fucking skinny, and I was just getting back into like my life, you know, like just like becoming myself, the person who I am now, the person who developed from some skin. And I remember creatively I just wasn't feeling it, and it was talking to people like Miz, who are great, who are supportive, who are like genuinely good people, that made me want to start taking photos again. And I actually linked up with him, and I've taken some photos for him. He's a, I was gonna say rapper, but man's the whole artist. He does like everything. So he actually inspired me to start taking photos again and reignite that bug back in me. And I would have never met that man if I would have never fucking worked at FedEx. So not all bad, you know? There's also a guy I used to work with who I didn't realize that I had worked with him, if that makes sense. So at the job that I was working where I had my accident, there's a guy who I used to work with, talking to him one day, and I'm like, yeah, before this, you know, I used to work for FedEx, I used to work for Amazon, and he was like, oh, I used to work for FedEx too. And then he goes to explain the whole like structure of like the FedEx company that we worked for. And I was like, wait, did you used to work for, and I named the company. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, bro, I worked for them too. And we lined up the dates. We had literally worked there at the same time and had met and known some of the same people. Another great person who I met, who made working at my last job really fun and bearable. I guess if there's something to take from this whole 3-part series, is that there's always something you can gain from these really shitty like jobs and these terrible experiences that we work at because we have to, but we don't really want to. Whether it's experience, whether it's friendships, whether it's connections. So in any sort of situation that you may be in that is not something that you really want to be doing, but you have to do it or whatever, just take what you can learn from that experience, because who knows, like maybe one day you'll be randomly telling people this story on TikTok.